Hi folks, I'm Nicole Gilbert and welcome to Nicole Gilbert Quilts. In this video, I am going to be breaking down some of my most loved pre-cut sizes and explaining exactly what makes each of them different and why we would want to use them. Okay folks, let's dive in. Okay, so today we're chatting all about pre-cuts. So, for those of you who are unfamiliar, pre-cuts are a way for fabric distributors and fabric companies to package fabric collections so that it is easy for a consumer, meaning you or I, to purchase a full collection of fabric and also to make the fabric be more affordable and more user friendly. So, how do they go about this? Well, in pretty much every version of a pre-cut, you get every fabric that's in a collection. That's pretty amazing, right? I mean, for the most part, most of us aren't able to go into a fabric store and purchase a yard or more of each individual fabric, especially some of the fabric designs and collections from more prolific designers who put out those big 20 fabric collections. That's a lot of coin when you really think about it. So, and also it can be really difficult for retailers, your local quilt shop, to purchase every single pattern and design. A lot of times what they'll end up doing is just buying bolts of what they think is going to be most commercially successful, and then they'll buy pre-cuts. So in a pre-cut collection, you get every fabric in a collection, and they come in different sizes. And the different sizes are so that you can use them in different ways. They're also more cost effective, the different sizes that you get into. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of go over why you would use something, when you would use it, and where it kind of lands in the cost spectrum so that you can get a better feel of what pre-cuts might be right for your next project. So I'm going to kind of go from the biggest cuts to the smallest. And first, we're going to go with bundles. So this is a fat quarter bundle. This happens to be Tilda Windy Days. You guys, it's so pretty. I will have links in the show notes to both the fabric designer websites with kind of closer looks at these specific collections that I'm showing you, just in case you're curious. But I'll also have some links so that you can purchase any of these. None of these are currently for sale in my shop, but there are some pretty great shops out there. So I'll help you out. But this is a fat quarter bundle. Now, a bundle of this kind of shape design, sometimes you'll hear them referred to as towers. You will usually find these in either whole yard, half yard, or fat quarter. Whole yard and half yard are pretty straightforward. They're a full yard or a half yard cut of every fabric in the collection. A fat quarter is a quarter of a yard, but you might be wondering, why are they using the word fat? Okay, so the reason why they're using the word fat is that instead of cutting a quarter of a yard, which would be, 9 inches, 9 by width of fabric, which is kind of like a skinny, weird piece of fabric to use, instead it's cut the fat way, meaning it's 18 inches by 21 inches. This gives you a nice, it's rectangular but more squarish piece of fabric that you can use for pretty much anything. If you look at a lot of your patterns, they're written and the fabric requirements will either reference a fat quarter or a quarter of a yard, meaning you could use a fat quarter bundle for a lot of the projects that you currently have in mind. It's a really versatile thing, and quite frankly, I tend to buy a fat quarter bundle of every collection that I like. I know, I'm kind of a fabricaholic. It is what it is. But it gives you so many options, so many coordinating fabrics. You can do a whole quilt off of this. When you add background fabric to it, you can sometimes get 2 or 3 very large quilts out of it. It's a great value. Now, all fabric is not created equal, as we know, and depending on the retailer that you're purchasing from, whether it is a big box retailer or a local quilt shop, will have the prices vary. However, for a typical designer fabric collection fat quarter bundle, you will probably land somewhere in the $60 to $80 range. But remember, in many fat quarter bundles, you are getting 20 to 30 different fat quarters. When you multiply that and you think, okay, well, it's a fat quarter, 4 of them are a yard, you're making out pretty decently. And you're getting a larger variety of fabric, which is always great. So that's number 1, the fat quarter bundle. You can also find them in full yard and half yard bundles. Okay, I'm just going to set that to the side. The next one I'm going to bring up is the layer cake. Now, the layer cake, I love a layer cake. A layer cake is 10 by 10 inches. Now, you might hear these called stackers or pops or all sorts of different names. Moda really kind of engineered or paved the way for pre-cuts. So just like a Kleenex is a tissue, a lot of times we'll refer to the pre-cuts by the name that a specific company has given it. And a lot of times it's the Moda name, which this is a layer cake or a 10-inch stacker. They're just 10-inch squares of fabric. And again, I here am now getting something of every fabric in the collection. Now, the average collection is about 20 fabrics or so, but a layer cake, and this is the first of the pre-cuts that start to do this, have multiple of some of the fabrics so that you get between 40 and 44, depending on the manufacturer, 10-inch squares. So you will get some duplicates throughout your stacker. Like, I don't know if you can see this guy and the guy right in front of it are the exact same print. That's okay. More to love. What's great about this is for most of your quilts, you are going to use some cuts that are smaller than 10 inches. You probably will need more than a layer cake, but let me see. I always have goodies around the room. Something like Brightly, which I will put up on the show notes or description below. Beautiful pattern by Cluck Cluck Sew. It requires 1 layer cake. That's it. And background fabric. Because of my obsession with pre-cuts, something I've started to do is to collect background fabric. I will buy yards and yards at a time of tone-on-tone whites, porcelains, ivories, because they're great background fabrics. And as long as you have kind of a stash of background fabrics, you can grab a bundle of pre-cut and you are good to go. So this is a layer cake. It's super versatile. You're going to get a lot of fabric in it. You're going to get like 3 to 4 yards of fabric, depending on the size of the layer cake that manufacturer produces. Remember, you can get anywhere from 40 to 44 squares. So it's between 3 and 4 yards, which is a really generous amount, especially considering the fact that layer cakes are usually somewhere between $25 and $40. Break that down by yardage, and you're doing pretty good, especially when you think of designer quilt fabrics. So that's a layer cake. Next up is a charm pack. And a charm pack is basically just like a layer cake, except instead of 10-inch squares, these are 5-inch squares. Okay? This one is Sunshine's Toll. It's pretty amazing. It's like this awesome watercolor thing going on. It's beautiful. I'll link it below. And that layer cake was Happy Days by Chelsea and Sherry for Moda. But this is a charm pack. And what's great, and now that I've mentioned charm packs and you know what they are, a layer cake will get you 4 charm packs. So if you are looking at a quilt pattern that requires more than 1 charm pack, it may be cost effective to just get a layer cake and cut it down. So that's something to think about. Charm packs are fantastic because, again, you're getting just as many pieces as the layer cake. However, you're now paying about $10 to $15. $10 to $15. Hello? And you can make a throw quilt out of this when you add background fabric to it. That's pretty darn good. All right. Next, and this is the last of like the standard pre-cuts, is the jelly roll. We've all seen these. And what they are is 2.5-inch strips by the width of the fabric. And they're usually between 40 and 45 strips in a roll. And so you'll get multiples of some of the fabrics in a collection, but you will get all of the fabrics in a collection, which is pretty darn awesome. Now, I love jelly rolls because they are so cut down that many patterns are written specifically for jelly rolls. And to be quite honest, there's a lot of patterns that are written specifically for charm packs. Now, when it comes to layer cakes and fat quarters, you'll see patterns are friendly. And that means that while you can't just pull it out and use it straight out of the package, you can use it for cutting down into the pieces that are in the quilt pattern. Ones that are say like jelly roll quilt, charm pack quilt, it means that you are literally taking it and starting to sew. It's that awesome. But this is a jelly roll. There's also something called a honey bun, which is the exact same concept, except your strips are 1.5 inches wide instead of 2.5 inches wide. It just gives you a smaller, different look. Both are wonderful, but you will find way more usage from a jelly roll as far as variety of quilt patterns go than you will from a honey bun. All right, and so this is the last kind of specialty pre-cut I've got for you. This is a honeycomb pack. This one happens to be Balboa by Sherry and Chelsea for Moda. But in this, you get, let me read, because it's a lot. It's 240 hexagons, and they're 1.5-inch hexagons. And these are great for English paper piecing. Now, we all know, like, the whole hexy grandmother's flower garden. That's what these guys are for, and they're so much fun to use. And they do come in this, like, fun little package. They're definitely more of a unique pre-cut, but I mention them because I do use them quite a bit because I love the English paper piece. Now, there is one more pre-cut that I would like to mention, and that's called the Jolly Bar. And you can only get Jolly Bars from Fat Quarter Shop, and they are just kind of large rectangles. They're 5-inch by 10-inch, or like half of a layer cake. You dig? They are specially made just for Kimberly Jolly. See it? Jolly Bar. And they're a lot of fun to use as well. And Fat Quarter Shop often provides patterns and projects that specifically use Jolly Bars. I will also include a link for Fat Quarter Shop below so that you can kind of explore a little. But there you have it, guys. That is pre-cuts in a nutshell. I just wanted to go over that so that you were a little bit more familiar with the jargon and you are able to kind of shop a little bit more creatively the next time you visit your local quilt shop. All right, folks, I'll see you soon. Bye for now.